Charlie, it's great to be here with you. Appreciate you doing this interview.
Likewise, Alex. Thank you.
Why, after 3 years of silence concerning 9/11, are you now speaking up? And why have you written this public letter that you've now published?
Well, Alex, I wrote this letter for two reasons. Firstly, I wanted to create a public document specifically rooted in fact. If anybody dares question that, I would encourage those people to scrutinize it, to research it. The truth is unchanging, Alex, as we both know. The only aspect of this piece that had to be manufactured were the president's words. Everything else will withstand the critical assault I'm more than prepared to endure. And secondly, this is our first new president since 9/11, and consequently his first 9/11 anniversary in office. Enough stonewalling, enough media manipulation, enough media mantra speak. The families deserve better, Alex. America deserves better. I mean, come on. Come on, people. The 9/11 Commission report is a blatant work of manipulation, secrecy, and fiction. Come on, the time is now. Demand the truth. I personally cannot stand idly by any longer and pretend like a new investigation is just going to fall out of the heavens right into our Congress. We have to take action. We have to stand as one. We must insist that our new president deliver on his promises. And that's why, Alex, that's why I've gone right to the top with this. That's why I'm asking the president to read my letter, to answer my questions in person, and to call for a real and open investigation, finally.
Charlie, I noticed that in your letter to the president, you make the point that several members of the 9/11 Commission, including the chairman, have said that the Pentagon lied to them, that there were a lot of distortions involved. And the chief counsel, Mr. Farmer, is now writing a tell-all book and has been interviewed by the Washington Post. He's out there saying that they met secretly with the Pentagon and agreed to, quote, lie about almost everything in the commission. So anybody that criticizes you, I just want to say right here and right now, this is insanity. You've read the report. We've gone over all the documents. The people on the commission are saying it's a fraud. So this isn't about Charlie Sheen or Alex Jones. It's about Barack Obama because he's the new president. He's in there. George Bush is gone. That was like talking to a brick wall. And we've got to have a real investigation. We haven't had a real investigation yet. We've got all these blacked out pages in the first report, 900 pages, a bunch of pages in the 9/11 Commission report are blacked out. I mean, I know I'm ranting here, but what do you say to that? Because it's in your letter. I mean, you're only pointing out that the commission itself says it's a fraud.
Well, I had faith that as time went on, that more would be revealed. Month after month, year after year, more has continually been revealed. And as you have stated, these are the questions, these are the facts, these are the issues that found their way into my letter because, as I said, not as a challenge, just to not be misrepresented, just to not be demonized for asking questions when in fact all we're doing is what we have been taught is our God-given right as Americans to question something that we know to be, let's just say, suspicious.
Charlie, what about those that are going to counter you saying, how dare you question the official story? That will hurt the victims' families' feelings. I've talked to Bill Doyle, the head of the biggest family group, and he says he believes that we've been lied to about 9/11. We see national polls, upwards of 83% questioning the official story. I mean, really, we're the majority out there. What's your take on this? I mean, do you see it as asinine that every time we ask these serious questions that the establishment media and the politicians try to say, no, you're not allowed to ask questions, that's un-American? Teddy Roosevelt said that it's quintessentially American to love your country, but to question your government. And with all the cover-ups we've seen, all the lies about WMDs and everything else, and the commission itself coming out and saying that they agreed to basically lie, I mean, what's your take on the fact that they're probably going to come out and say, how dare you ask these questions?
Alex, I actually addressed that in my open letter in 20 Minutes with the President, where I discussed that the message we carry, and by we, myself, America, and most importantly, the victim family members, where I do discuss This message will not be silenced anymore by the media-fueled mantras insisting how they feel and deciding for them for 8 long years what can be thought, what can be said, what can be asked.
Even during the 9/11 Commission, the audience was filled with family members screaming that it was a fraud and a lie. They've been all over the news saying they want a new investigation. Right. How dare the media imply then that it hurts the family's feelings to ask for one? They want a real investigation.
Right. I mean, come on, Alex. It was all over the news during the 9/11 Commission investigation that the family members were deeply frustrated, and the questions that they needed to have asked never saw the light of day. Those words never found their way onto the page into that report. And so we're not just, assuming or believing that because we're told that it's offensive to the families to question all of this. We know for a fact that this is not the case. We know that they've been calling for a new investigation. They've been demanding the truth. They've been looking beyond what they've been force-fed and told was the correct way to behave about their murdered family members.
Charlie, what about all the experts? What is it now, over 800 different architects, engineers for 9/11 Truth that have signed public letters and written reports detailing that it was impossible the way the towers and Building 7 fell in the official story. And we have all these physicists coming out, and we have other celebrities coming out too, like Willie Nelson and Governor Jesse Ventura. What has it been like the last 3 years watching all of this unfold?
It's exciting, Alex. It's encouraging. It gives me hope. But rather than categorizing the different groups in the movement as the architectural group, the scientific group, I think it's important that we all just view ourselves as people of logic. What they're asking us to do, essentially what they're asking us to do is they're asking us to completely suspend everything we have learned and know to be true for our entire lives. And they are asking us on one specific day to take all of that knowledge, all of that experience, all of that truth, stand it on its ear, throw it out the window, and worship a new form of physics, worship a new form of reality that is completely inconsistent with everything we know in each and every cell of our entire being. And it's important to note, Alex, that we're not just asked, we are told to believe these things, and then we are demonized for questioning them.
As a free human being, as a free American, you're supposed to be able to question the government. And you got Building 7, 47-story building with the CIA headquartered in it, falls at free fall speed. NIST has now admitted that after denying it for years. And then we're demonized for asking questions when the 9/11 Commission itself and their chief counsel is saying it's a fraud and is writing a tell-all book. I see this whole cover-up collapsing, just like those buildings did when they blew them sky high.
Well, Alex, all we can do is continue to ask the questions, continue to apply the pressure, continue to insist that no, this is not good enough. We are better than this. We deserve better than this. And we will not settle for anything shy of that.
That's the big question, Charlie. Why are you doing this? Why'd you do it 3 years ago? Why now today? What is it that drives you, that makes you different from a lot of big Hollywood stars? I mean, you're super A-list, top of your game. And why are you focused on these issues when so many other people, at your level are, worried about their skin cream?
Alex, for 26 years, more than half of my life, I have been creating fiction for a living. So believe me when I tell you, I recognize it when it presents itself, and even more so when it is forced into my grill. So on that note, Alex, I'm no longer afraid to say that the official 9/11 story is an absolute fairy tale, a complete work of fiction, and not even a very good one.
Well, your letter makes perfect sense on that point. This thing is a work of fiction. They admit it's a fraud. It's been proven to be a lie from end to end, but we don't know exactly what happened that day. Hence, we do need to have a new investigation. Are you confident that Congress could engage in a free and open, impartial new commission, or would they use the excuse of national security to cover up again?
Well, of course, Alex, nothing's perfect, but in view of the evidence that continues to reveal itself, a new and open investigation is certainly a step in the right direction. And here's the problem: when guys like myself choose to take a stand against this level of tyranny, for tyranny and deception, for lack of a better term, they they spin it into this notion, this idea that we have cracked the case, we have the answers, we figured this thing out. No, that's not what we're doing here. All we're really saying is that, what we've been told to believe, we must reject on face value. We must reject it. And therefore, that is the foundation of the questions that so many of us have, that so many of us share, because it's not about having the answers. We know their stories are fraud, Alex. We are looking for the truth. Let's just talk about this for 1 second, Alex, and this has really bothered me from day one. How is it that two completely random events result in an identical occurrence?
You're talking about the collapse of the North and South Tower.
I ask you again, Alex, how is it that two completely random events result in an identical occurrence?
Two different types of jetliners, different fuel, different places, but the buildings collapse the same way. But what about Building 7? It's not hit by a plane. And then now they've got all that thermite and thermate reports and peer-reviewed journals and then all these videos of police and firemen saying the government told them to get back. Building 7 was to come down.
I think we should treat Building 7 exactly as the 9/11 Commission report did and completely ignore it. Because guess what? When you completely ignore something, it magically disappears. Isn't that what we've been taught to believe?
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Hey, I talked to the public, and a lot of them don't even know there was a 47-story building way off from the main towers that wasn't hit by a plane, had a few windows knocked out, and had the CIA based in it, and then it collapses in on itself. And then there's all these CNN videos of police and firemen saying, get back, they're going to bring the building down. We've got Jane Stanley, the reporter for BBC World. And then simultaneously on BBC 24, the other reporters, 25 minutes before Building 7 collapses after 5 p.m. in the afternoon, they get on the news and say Building 7 has collapsed into its own footprint symmetrically, and right out the window is Building 7. And then the BBC for years wouldn't comment on it. Now they admit, oh, that was just an accident. And then later they changed their story and said, oh, Reuters sent us an internal report saying it had collapsed.
First, they said, we've misplaced the tape. That was their first response.
Well, at first, immediate, when we broke that, because one of our listeners just saw the video in some archive and made the point, so we broke that at prisonplanet.com. For 2 or 3 weeks, it was, we were liars. It was a fake video. She had a blue screen behind her. The timestamp on the TV was wrong. And then BBC said they lost the tape. They couldn't comment. And you're right. Later they came out and said, okay, it was an accident. Sure. We said, well, who fed you that? Somebody did false scripting. That's just like with JFK when stuff in Asia, before Oswald even been captured, they already had his name in newspapers. Somebody got that false scripting wrong. But this is in front of everybody. On TV, they're saying Building 7 has collapsed in its own footprint, complete collapse from fire. And there it is right behind them. And no steel building had ever collapsed from fire in all of history, except that day. Tower 1 and 2, but they've been hit by a plane. That was their excuse, jet fuel, pancaking, all of this, which NIST has now had to back off of. But then 7 is hit by nothing, and then they false script. But I guess we're not supposed to ask those questions. It's un-American. Just like, I guess, MSNBC and Cy Hirsch, New Yorker, weren't supposed to report on Dick Cheney wanting to attack our ships and blame it on Iran. Maybe, according to them, it's unpatriotic.
Well, I guess we've arrived at a place where it's unpatriotic to be a person of logic.
Charlie, I noticed that you are critical of Barack Obama on his civil rights record. I mean, he said he was going to get rid of warrantless wiretapping against the American people. He's keeping it. He said he was going to vote against the Patriot Act. He voted to reauthorize it. He said he was going to end secret arrest, the rendition program. He's keeping it.
Let me just say this, Alex. He got my vote based on what I heard, but not on what I've observed since.
So like Elvis says, a little less talk, a little more action?
Amen, Elvis.
Now, you've also got the point that he attacked indefinite detention that Bush had, and then now he's just saying it's, what's the term you use in your letter?
Permanent detention.
Yes, this permanent detention. He's saying in speeches, even if somebody's found not guilty by the tribunal, we may just have to keep them for the rest of their lives. I mean, that sounds like Bush on steroids. Are you confident that if we put enough pressure on him, we can get a new investigation?
I'm not confident about anything, Alex, but...
so you're just trying, then. You're just doing your best.
Absolutely.
Duty is ours, consequence belongs to God.
There you go. The greatest journey begins with the first step.
Charlie, let's go over just a few of these points in your letter. I mean, folks can obviously go to Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, and it's all over the web now. They can they can read it for themselves and check out all the footnotes and links to the official record. That shows that we've got the facts and they're lying. But I notice in there you talk about something that came out last year that's gotten hardly any attention. Cy Hirsch, Pulitzer Prize winner, New Yorker magazine, comes out and even gives speeches saying that Dick Cheney was planning to paint up fake Iranian patrol boats, man them with Navy SEALs, and have them attack U.S. destroyers in the Strait of Hormuz to blame it on Iran. I love how you put that in your piece. That right there to the president should be plenty of evidence to open an investigation of 9/11 because you got Operation Northwoods you mentioned, you've got the Gulf of Tonkin. This seems like their favorite trick. Something you didn't mention in your letter is that letter that Gary Hart sent, that open letter to Iran, talking about, our government stages provocations, you better watch your butt. Look, I know I'm ranting. Charlie, I'm glad that you put it in your piece about the whole situation where Dick Cheney wanted to stage attacks on our ships with Navy SEALs, dressed up like Iranian soldiers on fake Iranian patrol boats. Isn't that enough evidence right there to open a new investigation on 9/11? Not even mentioning Gulf of Tonkin or Northwoods?
One would hope so, Alex. One would like to believe such would be the case. However, as I say to the president in my letter, Mr. President, I really wish I was making this stuff up. I'd sleep a lot better at night if I were.
Charlie, we're just a few hours into your letter being published, and already a lot of media is asking the question, is Charlie Sheen serious? Does he really want a meeting with the president? You told me on the phone earlier, and you told me earlier before we were on air, that yes, indeed, you do want an interview.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would not have constructed this document if that was not my ultimate goal.
So is this letter to get his attention? I'm sure this is going to go across his desk.
I would hope so. And if it doesn't, if for some reason this doesn't make it into his hands and I'm never granted my 20 minutes with my president, then I would urge the American people, I would urge anybody and everybody that has a stake in this, which would be all of us, to continue to apply the pressure, to continue to ask the questions, to continue to demand the truth.
Charlie, in your gut, do you think the president's going to actually give you that interview? Because regardless, he's going to see the questions. Millions of people now are going to be reading your letter and they're going to be asking these questions. So either way, the truth wins.
And the truth always wins, Alex. The truth is unchanging, as I stated earlier. If the president ignores this, that's on him. If he accepts it, that's on me.
Charlie, your letter to the president closes by you saying to him, make sure you're on the right side of history. What did you mean by that?
What I meant by that, Alex, was that this is his chance to do the right thing. And for much too long now, our government has been on the wrong side of history.
Charlie, when I read your letter, what really hit me was that this sounded like the president. In fact, I noticed that some of the things in his responses were quotes or paraphrased quotes from things he's actually said. You did your research on this. How long did it take you to write this letter?
Yes, I did do my research and I did take my time. There were some very long nights and some very long days, probably over a 2-week period. But let's face it, Alex, these people, at the end of the day, they're in show business. I'm in show business. So, these people read from scripts. I read from scripts. So it's not too far-fetched for me to grasp the nature and the style in which they communicate.
Speaking of reading off scripts, Obama won't give a speech unless he's reading off those teleprompters. And more often than not, it seems like he does the opposite of what he says he's going to do. And I noticed in your letter, you're a little bit rough on him when it comes to some of his police state activities. Were you shocked as an Obama supporter to see him go back on so many of his promises?
Was I shocked? Yes. Was I disappointed? Absolutely. Was I surprised? Certainly not. This is the political age that we live in, but we have to break out of that mold. We have to reject this. We have to stop accepting the fact that's just what they do. They just lie to us. No, because look at the history of it. Ultimately, it just leads to bigger and more damaging lies down the road.
Well, Mr. Sheen, I want to commend you for your courage. I want to thank you for doing this interview. I want to thank you for writing that letter to the president, because our country, our society, our world has no future unless people start getting involved and getting informed. And you've just done an incredible amount of research. Going through your letter with all the hyperlinks to official government documents and mainstream media, this stuff really is hidden in plain view. And tens of millions more people are now going to find out the truth about 9/11 because of what you've done. So I just want to thank you for spending time with us today and what you've done.
Well, thank you for having me, Alex. And I'd just like to say in closing that I not only encourage people to read my letter, but I challenge them to read it, and I challenge them to do their own research, to cross-check their facts. I challenge them to ask the hard questions and wake people up, and I challenge them to demand the truth.
The ball is in the American people's court. I mean, you've put it into Obama's court, giving him a chance to do the right thing. But regardless, as you said earlier, we've done the right thing, just asking these questions. It's your right. It's your duty. It is the epitome of patriotism to love your country, but to question your government. And with the history we've seen of them lying constantly and being caught lying, and the WMDs and all of it, all I can say is thank God for people like you that have courage, because in serious times like this, we need good men and women. As Thomas Jefferson said it best: all that evil men and tyrants need to flourish is that good men and women do nothing. And thanks to good people like you, Charlie, we've got a fighting chance. And that time I was on CNN, and then of course and there's one other quote I love, and that was by Mark Twain. In the beginning, a patriot is a scarce man, hated and feared. But in time, when his cause succeeds, the timid join him, because then it costs nothing to be a patriot. And you, Charlie Sheen, are a patriot. Thank you for spending this time with us today.
Thank you, Alex.